The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Tucson, Arizona, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 31900. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new vehicle. Let's start just at the front bumper area. You'll find two open-ended tow hooks located just under the front bumper area. They're attached to the frame rail on the passenger and driver side. As we move to the angled edge, you'll find your PA speaker and siren. Moving just on to the bumper extension itself, you'll find an 1.5-inch swivel discharge on the passenger and driver side. Just inside of that location within the bumper extension, you'll find 3 tubbed storage locations. As we move up onto the grille and to the outer edges is where you'll find your headlight structure housing a low and high beam and turn indicator. Moving to the center grille area, you'll find the Pierce logo in addition with 2 forward-facing emergency warning lights. Up onto the very top of the hood, just above the Freightliner logo, you'll find your grab handle for tilting your hood. Moving to the outer edge on the driver's side, you'll find a forward-facing air horn. As we move to the windshield, 2 windshield wipers. Moving out to the outer edges, you'll find your mirrors housing a flat upper portion and a convex mirror on the lower portion. As we move to the very roof area, you'll find 5 clearance lights and your emergency warning light bar. Let's take a look at some close-ups of the identified areas. First, let's start with the side bumper extension, side-facing emergency warning lights, passenger and driver's side. Let's go ahead and move now on top of the bumper extension where you'll find at the very top of the image your 1.5-inch swivel discharge. As we move to a top version looking downward, you'll find the cutout location where you'll find the open and close ball valve in the cutout area. As we move to the passenger and driver side, you'll find dry deck material for your hose storage, and then you'll also find a tubbed storage location in the center area. Let's move now to the driver's side where you'll find an 1.5-inch swivel discharge. Same concept, the cutout area is where you'll find the ball valve for open and close. Let's go ahead and move now to the headlight structure housing a low and high beam headlight in addition with a turn indicator. As we move to the grille, you'll find 2 forward-facing emergency warning lights. And as we move to the roof of the apparatus cab, it's where you'll find your 5 clearance lights and also your emergency warning light bar. Let's take a look under the hood. First, we'll identify 2 lights on the very firewall for gaining access for lighting and illuminating that area. We'll also find your power steering fluid. Close up here of that power steering fluid. There are specifications on that with a placard in green. As we move now to the side fill location, this is going to be your dipstick for checking your oil for your daily checks. As we move to the rear wall, you'll find your radiator fluid fill location. As we move just down to the lower section, you'll find the white canister housing your windshield wiper fluid. Also, just above the front wheel is where you'll find your side-facing turn marker light. You'll also find your air horn and air intake for the engine. As we move to the very rear section of the fender on the passenger and driver side, this is the release mechanism for your hood. Let's take a look now. This is your fuel tank. This is going to be a silver cap, ultra low sulfur. As we move to the blue cap, this is your DEF fill location. Once again, ultra low sulfur diesel fuel only. And then as we move to the right, you'll find your blue cap, which is your DEF fill location. Let's take a look just to the side of the DEF tank where you'll find a D handle that is keyed locked. Gain access by turning the D handle, gains access into the storage location here. As we move just upward on the diamond plate area is where you're going to find this cutout location. This is going to be the air fill in or out. You'll find the chuck on the left-hand side, and then you'll also find a regulated control valve on the right-hand side. Right to increase, left to decrease and close. Just underneath that, you'll find the battery charging receptacle. Let's move up onto the cab itself where you'll find door latches, which are easily accessible with a gloved hand. They are also keyed locked, in addition with grab handles at points of entry for personnel for gaining entry in and out of the cab. As we move from this location, you'll find in the very front area the mirror, flat on the very top section, convex on the lower section. We'll now move to the midsection of the pumper where you'll find your crosslay. We'll go ahead and identify a few areas within the pump area. First, let's start with the crosslay on your left. It is a single stack. Let's go ahead and move down to the pump panel. We'll identify a few items within this area. First, we'll start in the upper left-hand corner, first with your master pump discharge gauge. As we move down from this location, you'll find your master pump intake gauge. And then moving to the right, we'll find a combination LED illuminating gauge. On the left is the water tank, and on the right is your foam tank. As we move just to the right, you'll find the audible alarm. The outer edge of that bezel does allow you to dampen or brighten the sound. And then to the right, you'll find a tally light indicating pump engaged in green. As we move down, you'll find the pressure throttle governor. We'll go over that in just a moment. We'll also talk about your pressure controller. And then as we move to the right in the red module, this is your Husky foam system, and we'll go over that in a few moments. As we move all the way to the very far right, you'll find a pump hours, and beneath that you'll find a test gauge port for vacuum and pressure. Moving down to the very bottom, you'll find a panel light switch on the far left-hand side, and then you'll find future switches. If they are needed, you can add at any point. Moving further to the right, you'll find your pump overheat. That's an indicator and also a push to test. It is automatic. And then moving to the right, you'll find your reel rewind push button. Let's go back now and take a look at the pump boss. Starting in the upper left-hand corner, you'll find your check engine light. If this is illuminating, it would be in yellow. Moving to the right, you'll find a digital readout for the RPM. Moving further to the right, you'll find a red, if illuminating, stop engine light. And then as we move down, you'll find an orange menu button. This allows you to scroll through the various functions of your pressure throttle governor. To the right and in the center area, you'll find diagnostic engine information. Moving further to the right, you'll find a red silence button. This allows you to silence any audible alarms that may be sounding. As we move down, we have two options, either pressure mode or throttle mode. Those are the two blue buttons on the left. Also a digital readout here with information. Moving to the right, if your throttle has been engaged and your pump is properly engaged, you'll get a throttle ready indicator, green. And as we move down, you'll find a green preset button. This allows you to preset any functions for pressure or throttle. You'll also move down to find the throttle control, right to increase, left to decrease, push in the center to move to the idle position. As we move to the right, you'll find your pressure controller. We have in the upper left-hand corner a push on and off button. You'll also find an LED status indicator on the right-hand side. To increase or decrease, you can see the simple white knob. As we move to the right, it'll allow you to increase, and as we move to the left, it'll allow you to decrease. We do have some LED status lights down in the lower section. There are instructions here for what those lights are indicating if they are active. Let's move just to the right where you'll find your red Husky foam system. There are operating instructions in the upper right-hand corner, and also the system on and off button, which is green on the left. As we move down, you'll find a digital readout for the foam percentages, and just beneath that, you'll find two gray buttons. Those gray buttons indicate for increase foam percentage or decrease foam percentage. To the right-hand side, you'll find a prime button for priming the pump within the Husky system. And then you'll also find just to the right a system status. This is an LED light indicator. If you look at number 4 under system status lights, that will provide you the information as to what they're indicating. Also, as we move to the left, you'll find the number 1 speedlay. It is foam and water capable. It is the yellow discharge. Moving to the right, you'll find your electric prime. For best practices, at least 1,000 RPMs for engaging the electric primer. As we move to the right, you'll find your pump staging. You can see it's currently illuminating a green light indicating capacity has been engaged. Move it to the left, you'll find the pressure engaged. Let's move down and talk a little bit about some warning labels. First, this is a warning label regarding pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. As we move down, you'll find a warning label here regarding entanglement hazard. Because there are lines from above, there is the possibility of entanglement. As we move to the right, you'll find the reel discharge, recirculating line, and engine cooler. Twist right to open, twist left to close. As we move to the right, you'll find your tank fill and recirculating line, and then moving down to the next valve, you'll find your tank to pump. Let's go back up to the stage for your pump. First, the pump staging. Clearly on the left is the pressure engaged, and then on the right is your capacity engaged. You can see it's in for capacity and out for pressure. As we move down, once again, just covering the warning labels, this is an entanglement hazard warning label. Moving to the right, you'll find your large diameter pump intake. Moving further to the right, you'll find two placards located here. This is for your Husky foam system. There are instructions and also specifications on both of these placards. As we move down to the very bottom, this is going to be a specification placard. Moving down to the left, you'll find an additional warning label here that only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment, and only after they received proper training. As we move down to the very bottom left, you'll find your 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet. It is a female coupling. And then to the right, we've got a warning label here regarding do not mix different brands of foam or types for the possibility of foam failure. Down at the very bottom, this is your foam lever for draft or tank option. And then just beneath it, we also have the foam fill location. Got a couple of danger information warning labels here in the upper right-hand corner, and then also a 2.5-inch discharge. It is going to be the red color. Let's move from this location, go back to those Husky Foam System 3, just a little bit of a close-up. You can see specifications on the top and foam instructions on the bottom. As we move to the right behind the pan door, you'll find the foam lever instructions here for fill operations, the yellow handle in the very back section. You'll move that position to the horizontal or vertical position depending on what your operations recall. Let's go ahead and move back down to the foam lever. In the upward position, you'll be in the draft position. As we move the lever downward, it'll be moved into the tank position. To the very far right and just slightly down within that same vicinity is going to be the fill location for your foam system. Let's go ahead and move from this location now to the body. Just above the rear tire is where you'll find storage locations for your SCBA bottles in front of and rear of the axle. To the rear of the axle at the very back of the vehicle, you'll also find an additional storage location. As we move up to the top, we have two compartments. D handle gains access, and they are lockable compartments. As we move to the very top section and at the very bottom, you'll find emergency warning lights side facing. Let's go ahead and take a look inside the compartments. You can see dry deck material at the very base, LED lighting on both the front and rear section. And as we move to the rear compartment, adjustable shelving. The very bottom tray does have the ability to be pulled outward. The bottom tray has a release mechanism on the lower right-hand side. It will lock into the open position, therefore push the lever to restore it back to close. And you can see this is the foam fill hose. Let's go ahead and look to the very back of the vehicle. This is the storage location for your wheel chocks. As we're to the rear of the apparatus, we have our turn indicator and marker lights. At the very top will be a stop, turn, reverse, and emergency warning light. At the very top, you'll find two additional emergency warning lights. Let's move just underneath the vehicle on the passenger and driver's side is where you'll find two paddle latches. Those paddle latches will allow you to drop down the step mechanism, allowing you to gain access to the rear steps. They are currently in the deployed position. Let's go ahead and move to the very center of the vehicle. Just a quick look at the options here. We'll identify those first starting on the left-hand side, starting with the driver's rear discharge. This is a 2.5-inch ball valve. The control is on your right. Move to the center area. You're going to find a direct tank fill. Close and open is the ball valve on the very top portion. As we move to the passenger side, you'll find the driver's rear discharge. It is foam water capable, and the discharge lever is on your left. As we move down to the lower right area, you'll find the backpack fill location, left to open and right to close. Let's go ahead and move now to the rear wall where you'll find a few warning labels here. First, do not ride on the vehicle while it's in motion, and be cautious when climbing the steps. As we move now, let's identify a few items within the rear section of your apparatus. First, starting with your ladder, you do have a 3-section 20-foot ladder. As we move to the very top, we have pike pole storage locations for 2 pike poles. I think I've got a close-up here of the ladder. Once again, 3-section, 20-foot. And then as we move up to the very top section, you'll find the location for your storage for your pike poles. Let's move to the outer edges, upper right and left corner of the vehicle. This is going to be for your rigid drafting tube storage hoses. We have one on the passenger side and then also on the driver's side. Let's go ahead and identify a few more items. On the passenger and driver side, we do have additional holders here for wildland hose. There are extensions also located on the vehicle. As we move to the upper section of the vehicle, you'll find the doors on the right and left side, passenger and driver side, can allow you access inside to the center area also. There is LED lighting inside the compartments. As we move to the very front section, you'll find the fill location for your foam tank A. We also have a warning label here: do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. And then also top fill location for your water tank. As we move to the driver's side, you'll find your booster line in the dunnage area. And then to the right, you'll find your Husky foam system. Let's go ahead and move around now to the passenger side of the vehicle. We'll identify a few things as we move down. Same configuration for the most part as it is on the driver's side. At the very rear section, you'll find that drop-down compartment storage location. It does have lighting inside. As we move up, you'll also find adjustable shelving and also a pull-out tray, LED lighting also. As we move to the center compartment just over the rear axle, you'll find a tool board. D handle will gain you access to the rear section of the tool board. You'll also find when it's in the open position, it will lock into position. The release is on the lower right-hand side of the hinge. Just above the rear axle, you're going to find bottle storage location in front of and rear of the wheel. As we move now to the midsection of the pumper, we're going to find a storage location, long vertical door. D handle will gain access. It is lockable. Let's go ahead and identify a few items within the pump panel area on the passenger side. As we move up to the very top, behind the pan door is the foam drain. It's a twist. As we move downward from this location, you'll find your water strainer. There is a strainer directly behind the cap. As we move further down, you'll find the number 2 speed lay. It is foam and water capable. Onto the left is the discharge valve. You'll also find a warning label here regarding entanglement hazard because of that hose coming out from aloft. As we move further down, you'll find the push button for your reel rewind, and then to the right, you'll find the passenger large diameter main inlet. As we move further down, you're going to find your water strainer drain. That's on the very far left, and then you'll also find a warning label here. Once again, only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment, and only after they received proper training. As we move forward to this location, you'll find down at the very bottom your pump placard, which is a Darley, and then also your passenger side auxiliary inlet, 2.5 inch. Let's go ahead and move now to the front section of the cab. You'll find just under the rear cab door additional storage. 2 D handles will gain you access into this storage location. As we move directly under this space, you'll find an additional lever. This is going to be your passenger side auxiliary inlet drain, and then you'll also find your exhaust just in front of the rear axle. Let's go ahead and move to the driver's side of the cab, where you'll find affixed to the door panel all of our safety and warning information. You'll also find a yellow placard. This is going to be your manufactured by Pierce. Tremendous amount of information available here. We'll talk about that next. First, starting with the yellow placard, this is going to be manufactured by Pierce for Tucson Fire Department. It has the date of manufacture, the 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weighting, cold tire inflation. It also has all of your fluid capacities, the types of fluid, and the amount of fluid. Let's go ahead and move inside to the cab area, where you'll find comfort controls on the seat itself. As we move just down to the front area, about the left knee, you'll find the key for the ignition. And then as we move now to the seat area, you'll find just beneath it on the left-hand side is your master battery switch. We also have a grab handle for gaining access, and then also colored seat belts for identifying when individuals have their seat belts on. General view here of the section of the dash and cab area. Let's first start on the left-hand side at the very top with this placard. Your height 10 feet 0 inches, length 29 feet 9 inches, and a gross vehicle weight rating 35,000 pounds. As we move up to the very top, you'll find some switches. As we move downward, you'll find speed control, resume set Excel, and then also your headlights. And down at the very bottom, an increase or decrease. That's going to be for the lights within preview of the operator. As we move to the steering column, you'll also find on the left-hand side of the column your turn indicator. You'll also find controls for your windshield wipers and also windshield wiper fluid. Let's go ahead and start now with the dash. We'll start on the left-hand side with the transmission temperature, water temperature, and oil pressure at the top. As we move to the right-hand side of the dash, you'll find at the very top your ultra low sulfur diesel fuel. Just in the same area, your DEF level, front and rear air, speedometer, and tachometer directly in the center. Diagnostic information about your engine will display in the very top section in the digital readout. Let's go ahead and move just to the right-hand side of the steering column. In the upper left-hand corner in this image is where you're going to find your filter minder. And then as we move downward, you'll find your Allison transmission pad. It is a push button style transmission pad. We'll talk about the 3 switches here on the right when I've got a little bit closer image of those, but let's move to the right to the yellow diamond. This is your pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. You'll also find an AM/FM radio at the very top section, and then down at the very bottom section, you'll find your climate control. Let's go ahead and move back to those 3 switches on the left-hand side of the parking brake. First, starting at the top, this is going to be your DPF regen. Moving down, you're going to go to your mirror heat, and then moving further to the right, you'll find your driveline lock. Moving further to the right on the opposite side of the pull to apply your system parking brake is where you'll find your low range or high range switch, and then also your all-wheel drive locked switch position. There is a caution information here regarding activating that system. As we move to the center column, you'll find all of your tally lights that are labeled and color-coded at the very top section. As we move down, we'll find some switches, emergency lights, and also pump information. You'll also find your electric prime for your pump, a pressure digital readout, and then also an LED indicator for your water tank just to the right. You'll also find, as we move further to the right, an air horn switch at the very top section, and then also your siren and PA control, and then also a pressure controller, which is the exact same thing on your pump panel. Let's take a look at some close-ups of the switches here just to get an idea. You can see at the very top, emergency warning lights, and then your main pump foam system switches just beneath that. As we move to the upper right-hand corner, you'll find the OK to pump and roll switch and green indicators regarding pump operations, and then your pressure controller. Let's go ahead and move to the rear section of the cab. We're now on the driver's side rear cab. Warning labels on the door panel. As we move inside the cab, you'll find you have a bench seat for 3 positions. And as we move to the very center console in the rear, you'll find access for 12-volt USB style on the back of the MacBook storage location. As we look overhead in the cab, you'll find our dome lights. There are individual for the seat, and then also a general dome in the very front section. Just a view here of the passenger's area or officer seat. Congratulations, Tucson, Arizona, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 31900. If you have any questions regarding your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.